The Vanguard. Chapter 3. The Training. Irene Solis stepped away from the podium to a sustained wave of applause that rolled through the assembly hall like distant thunder. It was not merely admiration, it was recognition. Every cadet in the room understood that the civilization they inhabited, the synchronized economies, the interplanetary trade networks, the very rhythm of life across the solar system, rested upon the infrastructure he had created. As the applause gradually subsided, another figure rose from the front row. General Kyle Mazo, Space Marshal of Vanguard, the Warden of the Space Highways. The hall grew noticeably quieter. Unlike Solis, whose reputation had been forged through invention, Mazo's had been forged through crisis. Born in the Martian Directorate and raised beneath the rust-red skies of Mars, Kyle Mazo had spent more than 5 decades in active Vanguard service. At 71 years of age, he remained one of the most respected strategic commanders in human space. His career was etched into the history of Vanguard itself. The Ceres Pirate Wars, the Europa blockade crisis, the Titan Corridor incident, conflicts that every cadet had studied long before arriving here. Following Irene Solis, no individual held greater authority within Vanguard. The position of Space Marshal was deliberately insulated from political influence. Removal required unanimous approval from all 5 federations, the Terra Union, Martian Directorate, Belt Ironians, Jovan Federation, and Saturnian Kingdoms, and even then, Irene Solis retained the power of veto. Conversely, Solis possessed the authority to dismiss any officer within Vanguard. The implication was obvious. With the sole exception of Irene Solis, Kyle Mazo answered to no one. The Space Marshal reached the podium and surveyed the hall. The silence that followed was immediate, measured, disciplined. "Cadets," he began, his voice carrying effortlessly across the chamber, "you have entered one of the most selective organizations in human history." A display ignited behind him. Gateway stations, transit corridors, relativistic trade routes, escort fleets, logistics hubs, the nervous system of civilization. Many outside Vanguard describe us as a military force. They are mistaken. The display shifted. We are the infrastructure that allows civilization to function. Images appeared one after another. Gatebreakers accelerating through laser corridors, escort vessels intercepting pirate raiders, maintenance swarms clearing debris from transit highways, emergency response craft racing toward a crippled habitat. We are simultaneously an interplanetary transit authority, a strategic logistics command, an anti-piracy force, a gateway infrastructure operator, a relativistic corridor regulator, and an emergency response service. He paused, allowing the scale of it to settle over the room. Every hour, trillions of credits in commerce pass through systems maintained by Vanguard. Entire planetary economies depend upon our reliability. Every federation relies upon us. No federation can replace us. The statement was not arrogance, it was mathematics. Mazo folded his hands behind his back. Each operational branch is commanded by a deputy space marshal. The display divided into 6 sectors: security operations, logistics command, gateway operations, corridor regulation, intelligence analysis, emergency response. Over the coming weeks, each Deputy Space Marshal will address you personally and explain the responsibilities of their command. His gaze swept across the cadets. You will rotate through every division. Everyone! A faint ripple moved through the audience. Mazo noticed. Of course he did. Your eventual assignment will not be determined by preference. It will be determined by demonstrated competence. The room became still. Everyone understood what that meant. Everyone dreamed of security operations, the anti-piracy fleets, the escort squadrons, the frontier deployments. Those were the postings of legends, the assignments that produced heroes. Few, however, dreamed of corridor regulation, the endless maintenance of Vanguard's relativistic highways, the autonomous drone networks, the particle sweep arrays, the debris sterilization systems, the thankless responsibility of ensuring that a vessel traveling at half the speed of light never encountered a fragment larger than a grain of sand. No glory, no battles, no medals, only precision. And yet, every person in the room understood a deeper truth. Without the regulators, there would be no escorts. Without the escorts, there would be no trade. Without trade, there would be no civilization. Mazo seemed to read the thoughts moving through the hall. A faint smile touched his face. The universe does not care what assignments you find exciting. The smile vanished. It only cares whether the job is done correctly. His eyes hardened. And when a gate breaker carrying 10 million tons of cargo enters a corridor at half the speed of light, there is no such thing as an unimportant duty. For the second time that day, Indra felt the weight of Vanguard settle upon him. The competition had already begun. And suddenly, every cadet in the room understood that failure would not merely cost them prestige. It would determine where they spent the rest of their careers, sweeping the highways of civilization or defending them. Soon, one by one, the other deputy wardens took the podium. Each represented a different pillar of Vanguard authority. Together, they formed the machinery that kept civilization functioning across billions of kilometers of inhabited space. First came James Ryder, Deputy Warden of Security Operations. Ryder spoke without theatrics. His voice carried the measured certainty of a man accustomed to making decisions where hesitation could cost lives. Security operations, he explained, existed so that ordinary citizens would never need to think about security at all. His division conducted threat assessments across the solar system, monitored piracy networks, coordinated escort fleets, managed cyber defense infrastructure, and investigated internal security risks. Every trade corridor, every gateway approach lane, every convoy carrying food, industrial materials, medicines, and reactor components passed beneath their watch. The ideal security operation, Ryder said, is one nobody notices. A few cadets smiled. The moment citizens become aware of us, something has already gone wrong. A holographic map of the solar system appeared behind him. Thousands of luminous trade routes stretched between planets, habitats, stations, and orbital cities. Every route you see here is a lifeline. Our responsibility is simple. He paused. Ensure every threat is identified before it matures, isolated before it spreads, and eliminated before it becomes visible. The map flashed with red markers: pirates, smugglers, corporate espionage cells, cyber intrusion attempts, political extremists. Ryder dismissed them all with a gesture. Our success is measured by events that never happen. The hall remained silent as he stepped away. Next came Lena Park, Deputy Warden of Logistics Command. Where Ryder projected restraint, Park radiated energy. She spoke rapidly, moving between displays as though the immense complexity of interplanetary logistics existed naturally inside her mind. If security protects civilization, she began, logistics keeps it alive. Entire supply chains appeared behind her, food shipments leaving agricultural cylinders, fusion fuel moving from helium-3 refineries, industrial materials crossing the belt, medical cargo bound for distant habitats. The visualization resembled a living circulatory system. Every civilization believes it runs on ideals, Park said. It doesn't. A few chuckles rippled through the audience. It runs on deliveries. The display expanded. Massive vessels appeared, gate breakers, the colossal ships responsible for constructing, deploying, and maintaining the gateway infrastructure that linked human space together. Without them, interplanetary travel would return to the slow age of conventional transit. Without them, economies would fragment. Federations would isolate. Trade would collapse. The gate breakers are among the largest mobile structures ever built by humanity, Park explained, and every one of them requires continuous maintenance, resupply, personnel rotation, engineering support, and strategic coordination. The scale was staggering. Thousands of crews, millions of components, hundreds of active projects spread across an entire solar system. The highways don't maintain themselves, she said. The gateways don't repair themselves. She smiled slightly. And despite what engineers claim, machines do not magically acquire spare parts. Laughter finally spread through the hall. When Park stepped down, the cadets understood something they had never truly considered before. Civilization was not merely built, it was serviced, every hour, every day, without pause. Then came Alex Morgan, Deputy Warden of Gateway Operations. The room darkened. 5 luminous symbols appeared behind him: blue, red, gray, amber, gold. The 5 great gateways. Every cadet recognized them immediately. No structures in human history had altered civilization more profoundly. Morgan stood before their rotating holograms like a priest addressing ancient monuments. Most citizens see a gateway as transportation. He shook his head. It is not. The blue gateway expanded into a detailed engineering model. It is infrastructure. The red gateway followed. Policy, gray. Navigation, amber. Energy management, gold. Strategic continuity. Morgan explained the immense complexity required to operate them safely. Traffic control, transit scheduling, stability monitoring, energy synchronization, emergency containment protocols. A single gateway malfunction could strand fleets, cripple economies, or isolate entire populations. The public experiences gateways as convenience. The 5 structures rotated slowly. We experience them as responsibility. For a moment, nobody spoke. The silent holograms seemed almost sacred. After Morgan came Maya Solis, Deputy Warden of Emergency Response. Her presentation was unlike the others. She began not with charts or statistics. She began with names. Names of habitats saved, colonies evacuated, ships recovered, lives preserved. Emergency response, she explained, was the division that arrived after everyone else's plans had failed. Hull breaches, radiation leaks, industrial accidents, reactor failures, meteor impacts, atmospheric collapses, gateway incidents, medical crises. Their personnel entered situations where survival probabilities were often measured in percentages, yet they went anyway. Video footage showed rescue craft racing toward crippled habitats while debris still burned around them. Emergency teams stabilizing stations, medical crews evacuating civilians, search and rescue specialists working inside collapsing structures. We are not the strongest division, Jaya said. We are not the largest. The footage paused. We are simply the people who refuse to leave others behind. No one applauded. Not because the statement lacked impact, because applause felt inappropriate. Then came Ethan Drake, Deputy Warden of Intelligence Analysis. Unlike the others, Drake revealed almost nothing, at least nothing specific. A faint smile appeared when he stepped to the podium. The fact that most of you know very little about my division means we are doing our job. A few cadets laughed nervously. Drake's presentation focused on patterns, data flows, economic forecasts, political instability indicators, communication intercepts, behavioral models, threat projections, the invisible currents beneath civilization. The security division responds to threats. A galaxy-wide network appeared behind him. We attempt to discover them before they exist. Whispers moved through the audience. Every major power, every corporation, every pirate syndicate, every political movement, every unexplained anomaly. all flowed through intelligence analysis. The closest thing the solar system possessed to a private spy network rested under Drake's authority. Information, he explained, was the first line of defense, and often the last. By the time Drake stepped away, many cadets felt vaguely uncomfortable, which perhaps was the point. The final speaker arrived without ceremony, no dramatic entrance, no impressive title, no fleet command, no planetary jurisdiction, no strategic authority. A thin, silver-haired man walked calmly to the podium. The display behind him simply read, Dr. Dev Khatri, Senior Biological Sciences Division. He looked out across the exhausted cadets and smiled. Welcome, cadets. His voice carried the warmth of a teacher rather than a commander. It has been a very long day for you. A ripple of quiet amusement moved through the hall. Now, unlike the deputy wardens who addressed you earlier, I do not hold an important post. He adjusted his glasses. In terms of rank, I am perhaps only 2 steps above where you are today. The room fell silent. Many expected the final lecture to be procedural, administrative, forgettable. Instead, Dr. Khatri surprised everyone. I will discuss the single most important subject you will study in Vanguard. He paused. The human body. Confused expressions appeared throughout the hall. Even Indra frowned. Human physiology? After an entire day spent discussing fleets, gateways, intelligence networks, and planetary-scale infrastructure? Dr. Khatri continued, the individual who spends their life on old Earth and the individual raised on Ganymede are not the same. A schematic appeared behind him. Earth, Mars, Luna, the Belt, the Jovian habitats, the Saturnian colonies. They are all human. The diagrams expanded, different bone densities, different muscular structures, different cardiovascular adaptations, different metabolic profiles, but they are not identical. For the first time that day, Indra found himself leaning forward. The realization felt obvious once spoken aloud. Of course they were different. How could they not be? Generations born beneath varying gravities, atmospheres, radiation environments, and ecological systems could never remain unchanged. And here all of you sit together. The professor gestured across the hall. Cadets from every corner of human civilization. His gaze moved across the audience. Some of you have crossed the solar system dozens of times. Others nodded. Some of you have never left your home world. More nods. Some of you have spent years in transit. A few hands rose. And some of you were born in environments where the concept of a planetary horizon does not exist. The hall grew thoughtful. Indra realized how extraordinary the room truly was. Thousands of lives, thousands of histories, all carrying different definitions of normal. Dr. Khatri smiled. Which means you must learn far more than military doctrine. The display changed again. Alien-looking forests, ocean ecosystems, methane-adapted microbial colonies, radiation-resistant organisms, bioengineered agricultural habitats. You must understand the biology of every world. The images expanded. You must understand its flora, its fauna, its ecosystems, its hazards, its evolutionary pressures. Because Vanguard personnel could be assigned anywhere. A frontier habitat, a belt refinery, a floating city above Venus, a research station orbiting Saturn. Anywhere. Every environment demanded different knowledge. Every population demanded different understanding. And then the professor's expression changed. For the first time, his voice carried genuine gravity. And you must also learn about those who are cursed to remain in space forever.
All systems nominal.
The hall became completely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Indra felt a chill run through him. Because he knew exactly whom Dr. Khatri meant, not the citizens of planets, not the administrators of stations, but the men and women who pursued the most coveted assignments in Vanguard, the anti-piracy task forces, the deep space patrol groups, the space army formations that spent years beyond the gravitational embrace of any world. Their careers unfolded among transit corridors, gateway approaches, and the endless darkness between planets. Some would spend so much of their lives in microgravity and rotational habitats that returning permanently to a planetary surface would become difficult, perhaps even impossible. Their bodies would adapt to the void as naturally as others adapted to oceans, deserts, or mountains. They were still human, yet they belonged wholly to no single world, not to Earth, not to Mars, not to the Belt, not even to the great federations that claimed their allegiance. They belonged to the highways, to the fleets, to the stations that drifted between suns and worlds, to the immense, silent frontier of space itself. For the first time that day, Indra understood that humanity was no longer merely a collection of planets and nations. It had become a civilization of worlds and of the vast emptiness that connected them. The lecture hall suddenly felt smaller, and the solar system infinitely larger.